Hi everyone, my name is Ali Hajjat. I'm from Intertrust Technologies. Today I would like to talk to you about live streaming piracy and how to battle against live streaming piracy while maintaining viewer experience. So let's get started. A little background about myself. So I'm currently responsible for product marketing of media entertainment solutions at Intertrust. I have over 15 years of experience in product management and product marketing for content protection and anti-piracy services. I worked at Broadcom for about 6 years, and then I was at Baymetrics for about 7 years. And it's more than a year that I'm at Intertrust and managing all aspects of media solutions product marketing activities. Before we start, I actually want to thank Bitmovin for giving Intertrust an opportunity to be part of Bitmovin Live IBC event. Intertrust and Bitmovin have a long history of partnership. I think it goes back to 2015, and we have had joint customers which used Intertrust multi-DRM service and Bitmovin's encoding, packaging, and player solutions. There has been a lot of synergy between the two companies over the years, and we have had a lot of joint activities together. One of the most recent joint activities is related to how to trust your player initiative. Basically, with this initiative, Bitmovin, Intertrust, and Friend MTS are joining forces to help streaming service providers secure the delivery of their content from origination all the way to the end user. And the goal is really to outline industry insight and best practices that ensures protecting the revenue of the service providers. Um, so let's cover or see what we want to cover today. Today, I want to start by reviewing the OTT video trend in the market and kind of the recent surge in OTT viewing related to live streaming. Then I would kind of look at some evidence related to consumers' sensitivities to latency, especially related to live streaming and focused on sports. Then we'll discuss some of the content protection challenges related to live streaming. For example, the need for a multi-DRM support at ultra low latency, or the need to identify stolen content on the internet, or the need to trace sources of piracy for live streaming. After that, in the second half of this webinar, we will look at the Expressplay media security suite from Intertrust, and I will present how the different components of this cloud-based solution technically can help to support a streamlined multi-DRM service while minimizing latency. The components that offer live optimized anti-piracy and forensic watermarking services, and how to use application shielding and tamper-resistant protection for apps and keys using white encryption. And then at the end, we will wrap up with a Q&A. So let's look at the global OTT video trend. According to Digital TV Research, they are estimating subscription revenue generated globally from different streaming services will reach about $24 billion by 2023 or 2024. That's the data shown on the left-hand side. So this is really related to all of the services such as the virtual MVPD, like the virtual multi-channel video programming distributors, as well as the D2C or direct-to-consumer services. Obviously, the biggest driver of revenue growth is with the advertising expenditure. And so their estimate is that about $56 billion across all of the OTT services will be on advertising expenditures. So if you add these two numbers, the total revenue generated from the whole OTT streaming services by 2024 will add up to be about $80 billion. Now, if you look at the breakdown between live streaming and non-live traffic, according to Rethink Research, they're estimating that by 2024, the live streaming is actually, the traffic of live streaming will surpass non-live traffic, and will increase to about 52.5% of the total traffic in 2024. That's the diagram on the right. So if you technically consider half or 50% of the total traffic to be on live streaming and associated to the $80 billion revenue, technically about half of $80 billion, meaning $40 billion revenue by 24 is going to be from the live streaming. So this is a massive number on live streaming generally. Now let's look at the important challenge related to live streaming, which is kind of the sensitivity to latency. So obviously today's technology has made it possible to stream sports and other live events at kind of a broadcast level latency. And I think that goes as little as I think 6 seconds lag time from the field action when it's a sporting event, live event, to what is rendered on the screen. But I think the consumer's expectation is higher than that, and they demand less latency for live streaming. Based on the Bitmoven's video developer report, the result on the left actually shows 55% of the viewers believe that latency is their most important concern. And on the right-hand side, you can see that 50% of viewers actually prefer latency of live streaming to be less than 5 seconds, 5 seconds or less, and 30% expecting kind of a less than 1 second latency. So again, the bar is high, and anything that introduces latency in live streaming, whether it's related to content protection or any anti-piracy tactic, is going to be problematic and would impact viewership experience. So we have to be very careful there. Now, let's look at the content protection challenges. And so there are actually several aspects of live streaming piracy that complicate security strategies. And on the left-hand side, you can see the list. So first of all, there are more variations in licensing policies for live streaming or sports streaming, especially when it comes to cross-border distribution. There are specific requirements on the DRM and anti-piracy solutions to reduce latency, as we talked about. And then on the third item, you see that there are a large number of streams to parse, and in order to find the pirated services and the pirated contents, there is a huge amount of contents that should be tracked and traced in real time. And lastly, there are more illicit content resources to identify and disrupt. So our goal today is to really discuss how a modern multi-DRM and anti-piracy service can address these challenges. So what you see on the right-hand side are really kind of the requirements for a comprehensive solution. So the answer to these challenges should really leverage a robust multi-DRM service for live streaming that can meet all the licensing policies between the content owners and content producers and the distributors. It has to use techniques that ensure multi-DRM service will not add any latency to the video stream, and should rely on effective means of identifying stolen content as the first step in order to track piracy. And lastly, obviously, leverage forensic watermarking that are designed especially for the live content. So now let's get into each of these items. The first item being how to support ultra low latency with multi-DRM, or what are the requirements for a multi-DRM platform for live streaming. First aspect is really related to the critical challenge of using a cloud technology in order to have a large scale workflow. Secondly, such a cloud platform actually needs to be optimized for live streaming in a sense that it should support instant delivery of keys, DRM licenses, and policies to the device without any associated delays or additional delays in the license acquisition process. Third, with live OTT video, content owners typically require that keys to be refreshed multiple times. So key rotation during a viewing session is one of the requirements. Next item is related to additional usage rights policies that are required. For example, when there is time shifting required by the users in the form of catch-up viewing in the limited time window or a cloud-based DVR option. So these are additional licensing rules that need to be considered. And lastly, the multi-DRM platform must be able to kind of ensure consistency in the viewer experience across all devices with low latency. So it has to be across all the different platforms, and the delivering of keys and DRM licenses from the servers should be supported with low latency on all platforms in order to maintain the viewer experience. The second item we talked about, and we want to get into more details, is really about flagging the stolen content. So, effective support for identifying pirated content is crucial. The right approach here really relies on web crawling tools in conjunction with digital fingerprinting technology, which is actually a technology used for automatic content recognition, ACR. So digital fingerprinting actually helps to identify if a licensed content is not coming from a licensed source. So basically, the way digital fingerprinting works is that it creates a digital signature from a few key video and audio descriptors that are uniquely identifying a piece of content associated to a specific, distributor or licensor. So licensee. So, by fingerprinting, you can identify the stolen content. And the next step is really that this monitoring service needs to support enforcement against streaming piracy by sending takedown notices. So identification is first, and then action is by sending automated takedown notices, and to not only to the pirate sites, but also be ready to do a rapid escalations throughout the site sharing points. Next item to be considered, we kind of touched base on this, is the forensic watermarking. So forensic watermarking is actually a technique used for identifying the end user behind the piracy, and it has become an essential component in distribution of premier content recently. In recent years, we have seen a much more push from live, service providers, specifically sports streaming service providers, for watermarking need. Basically the scale of losses from their, sports content has forced the producers to include such requirements in their licensing agreements. To be effective with forensic watermarking, specifically for live stream, there are certain requirements and criteria that needs to be supported. So I'm going to cover that very quickly here. First item is that this technology, the watermarking solution, should enable license holders to disrupt viewing within a few minutes after the streaming of the piracy starts. This basically means has to be a very fast and quick extraction of the watermark in the order of few minutes or less for live content. The second item is related to kind of watermark to be to survive kind of pirate detection and other means of content degradation which are applied by the pirates. So this includes robustness against attacks such as camcording, screencasting, transcoding, and recompression. Third, basically the technology must avoid adding noise or artifacts to the content or cause any degradation to the quality of the stream. It also needs to work with persistently encrypted content, meaning that it should eliminate any need to decrypt or re-encrypt the content while adding the watermark. And that is important for the content preparation and distribution. Next requirement is really about supporting extraction of the watermark from the pirated content video without additional need for the original content. So what they call is spline extraction, meaning you see a pirated content, you should be able to extract the watermark from the pirated content. And lastly, the solution has to be integrated tightly with the overall content protection solution without adding additional latency. So now let's look at how we can accomplish these challenges. So Intertrust Expressplay Media Security Suite actually provides the different components that are needed to meet these requirements. And basically, the Media Security Suite from Expressplay Media Security Suite consists of several services, such as the cloud-based multi-DRM service called Expressplay DRM, anti-piracy and forensic watermarking service called Expressplay Anti-Piracy, and also it offers a broadcast TV security solution called Expressplay XEA, and also it's complemented with a application shielding solution called Whitecryption, which is used to protect several DRM technologies such as Google Whitebox. For the rest of this discussions, kind of want to get into how each of these components can offer a comprehensive and integrated approach for battling live streaming piracy based on the requirement we discussed so far. So just 1 second before we move on. I am sorry. So let's start by looking at the key aspects of a multi-DRM platform for live streaming, which is to reduce latencies while the content is being encrypted and the DRM signaling is being added to the platform. So the first step is really to eliminate any encryption-related delays. And the tight integration of the Expressplay DRM platform with the third-party live encoder and packager is a key here. So this tight integration between Expressplay DRM enables delivering of the content encryption keys very fast and efficiently based on the protocols such as CPIX and SPEAK. So CPIX is the MPEG- industry forum standard for content protection information exchange, and it has been used with several live encoders. And also SPEAK is the protocol for secure packager and encoder key exchange. And again, it's something, an interface which was initially introduced by AWS and then later on was adopted by other vendors like Bitmovin. So as you can see on the screen, the tight integration of Expressplay DRM with Bitmovin's encoder and packager would enable, using actually a SPEAK interface, would enable the retrieval of the encryption keys and DRM signaling without additional latency for live events. Now, the next item, which is very important for low latency, is how the license is being delivered to the device. And so this impacts the DRM license acquisition model used. So basically, there is a need to prevent delays in license acquisition workflow, and this is important even when it comes to session startup with the initial delivery of the license to the device. There are two main workflows, as you can see on the screen. One is called the direct license acquisition model, and the second model is the proxy license acquisition model. So the Expressplay DRM supports both models, and it is critical to leverage the proxy model option for low latency live streaming, because as you can see on the screen, the direct license acquisition will actually go through a two round-trip communication between the player and the device for retrieving the DRM license. And the proxy model kind of bypasses this and really enables the player to directly retrieve a DRM license from the proxy server, which is actually managed by the OTT streaming service provider. So basically, in the proxy model, the player triggers license authorization with the OTT service directly as part of the license acquisition process and retrieves the license right after that authorization. And so this really reduces the overall latency of the delivering of the DRM license. The proxy model also simplifies support for complex use cases such as key rotations or multi-party packaging workflows. Okay, go to the next slide. Now, in terms of live optimized anti-piracy and forensic watermarking services, so there are the preferred choice really for type of watermarking solution is the client-side watermarking solution. And so Expressplay anti-piracy is the solution that offers a client-side watermarking solution and a content monitoring platform. So this service is really relying on a technology offered by our partner FriendMTS, which incorporates content monitoring and legal enforcement with this high-performance watermarking solution called ACID, or Advanced Subscriber ID Service. So the ACID service is kind of one of the most widely used watermarking solutions when it comes to live sports. And so the way it works is actually the asset is combined with a fully automated, content monitoring platform, which is sorry, getting some noise here, which is helping to quickly identify content streams and sends legal notifications. So the asset watermarking service provides a lightweight, client SDK for any type of devices, and kind of can be integrated easily on different platforms. And importantly, this watermarking solution is entirely imperceptible with no visual impact on the viewer experience. It is fully robust against all, real-world attacks such as collusion, blurring, and reframing. As I mentioned earlier, recently Bitmovin, FriendMTS, and Antitrust, the three partners, have joined forces with the initiative called How to Trust Your Player. So the goal here is to provide industry insight and best practices to bring an integrated solution between technically a multi-DRM platform, a player and packager provider, and a watermarking and anti-piracy service provider to have a combined integrated solution that protect the revenue of live streaming services. So I encourage everyone to read the articles and watch the videos related to How to Trust Your Player initiative. So the last component of the Media Security Suite is really related to securing apps and keys at the source code level with tamper-resistant Whitebox cryptography. So Intertrust Whitecryption offers kind of an advanced code obfuscation technology or Whitebox cryptography solution that can prevent attacks on applications and helps to harden apps against hacking and reverse engineering. So kind of a added on level of security on the player and the device software. The Whitecryption secure keybox solution also protects kind of keys and ensures that they are never exposed in clear during any cryptographic operations. And again, the solution is used by several DRM platforms today. So just to wrap up, again, I want to emphasize that live streaming will be a dominant component of OTT video streaming very soon. And obviously it is creating a new era in online piracy. And so there is a need for new approaches to protecting such premium content. And because of the revenue losses related to live content piracy, which is currently led by sport contents and sports piracy, the content owners and distributors are forcing a comprehensive approach which is fully integrated with different aspects of requirement related to live streaming piracy. So basically a low latency multi-DRM platform complemented with a searching and locating instance of the pirate content with a monitoring platform and identifying pirate sources with a forensic watermarking solution and kind of disrupting their service, the piracy service, is really the key here. And obviously all of these steps needs to be accomplished in real time without any additional latency that avoids any impact to the viewing experience. So Intertrust has met this challenge with the Expressplay Media Security Suite, and it kind of offers a combined multi-DRM protection with low latency, piracy monitoring and watermarking service, and a white box cryptography solution and other mechanisms that are really specific to protect the live streaming service. Before we get to the Q&A, I just want to remind you that Bitmovin has a gift for you. It is a nice gesture from Bitmovin team that even though IBC is not in person this year, but you can still get a Bitmovin swag pack. So feel free to go to the link on the screen and send yourself a gift box from Bitmovin. And with that, I think it's time for some questions. I think you have time for a couple of questions. So let me actually read the first question. How much is forensic watermarking requirement enforced by the studios and content owners? Yeah, so it's a good question. Watermarking initially started back in 2013. The requirement started back in 2013 when Movie Labs, first published their enhanced content protection specification. But because of the slow ramp up of the 4K and UHD formatted movies, and also a slow ramp up of movies distributed in early release window, technically studios have been slow to force or enforce all the requirements, including watermarking. But recently they have picked up the pace, and because of the growing alarm of losses due to piracy, and also the fact that early release window is being rolled out on some regions because of the pandemic and the fact that movie theaters are closed. So there is more attention and more pressure to implement this feature. Also, again, as I mentioned earlier, there has been more push on the sports sides, and the sports producers are really bringing this requirement in as part of the licensing terms because of, again, the scale of losses in the sports piracy. Next question. What is the impact of persistent DRM licensing on the latency for live streaming? Very good point. So I should have talked more about persistent licensing as well. Basically, because the goal is to avoid, delays in session startup and delivering the DRM license or the encryption keys, it is actually a very good starting point to leverage a persistent license, DRM license, rather than non-persistent license. So as the name kind of implies, persistent license continually enables playback from the given streaming service throughout the life of the DRM license. And so eliminates the need to retrieve multiple DRM licenses throughout the session, a viewing session. Whereas if a non-persistent, license is being used, then the playback would be terminated with each completion of a session. So it's a good tactic to use persistent licensing in order to reduce latency. But also it should be, considered or noted that persistent license requires non-volatile memory to store the license. So there is additional requirement when using persistent licensing. I think we are out of time, but what we will do, we will definitely respond to the rest of questions by email. Again, I want to thank Bitmovin for organizing this session, and I hope you all enjoyed this webinar, and feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. Thank you.